Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Defacto Review, a weekly roundup of the biggest stories shaping Mongolia. Here with us tonight is our commentator and economist Jargal of Defacto.
Good evening.
And my name is Dulgong. We're live on Facebook at V Television, and we want to hear your thoughts, so send us your comments on Twitter with hashtag Jargal_Defacto. Coming up on this program. Last week, the 18th Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit was held in QINGDAO. The United Nations Population Fund recently published its 2017 National Study on Gender-Based Violence in Mongolia. Local re-elections for 29 SOMs of 11 AMECs are expected to occur on June 24th. So our first topic of the night is the SCO's summit that occurred last week, June 9th and 10th. And there was a number of speculations about this meeting. However, not a lot of information was divulged about what exactly occurred during the meeting or what was discussed during high officials and presidents of the member countries. So what do you think happened during the summit?
Well, from our perspective of people that have been divided into two camps, to be member or not member, the most weighted information was the speech of our president. And our president, who promised to be a member or to upgrade our membership status with the Shanghai Cooperation Organizations, where we are now observing, one of the observers. So I would like to first remind you what was said before he comes to QINGDAO. At the Mongolia Economic Forum, he suddenly announced kind of a principal change of our foreign policy directions in a way, or giving an accent to two neighbor countries more than any other things. And he was explaining that whether everything what we do in fact don't really depend on the geopolitics of our neighbors, he said. And Mongolia having the most liberal law for foreign investment. Up to now we have no substantial investment because first, he said, it is a stability of the government. Second, it is geopolitical approach of our two neighbors. He said, superpowers. And also he said we need to be integrated into the regional economy. Otherwise whatever we try, we cannot complete any major projects, he said. So that's why Mongolia is so much dependent on these two neighbors. And that's the reason why we have been trying for the last 28 years to develop our economy without much result, he said. So that's why he said we will coordinate our policy with two neighbors. This is the word, coordinate. And otherwise, that's the reason, because we have not been coordinating, these 28 years of our development came to the dead end, he said, at the Economic Forum. And also, Mongolia will be a member of Eurasia Economic Union, where 5, Russia, Kazakhstan, Belarus, and another 2 countries, Armenia, I think, Kyrgyzstan. These 5 countries have Eurasia Economic Union, where the goods go without customs tax there. In Mongolia, they have applied for membership, he said. So that's why we need to upgrade our membership in Shanghai organizations. That's what he said before, but it was in May, but on June 9th at the Shanghai organization, he said, Mongolia is studying about opportunity to upgrade our membership status, and wide-scale discussions are started within political and social frame, he said. So he did not say that we will upgrade immediately. Why? Because unlike other Shanghai Organization members, except India, in Mongolia, decisions are made at the grassroots level on particular such issues about coming close to this military economic union. Because after all these things we used to have after democratic change, we think Mongolia is a neutral country. And we have the same balanced approach with two neighbors and the third neighbor, so-called. Meaning all other countries other than to our neighbors. So it's substantial change is going to be happening in this country.
Also during the trip, President Batulog had a meeting, the fourth meeting, tripad meeting of heads with the state of Mongolia, Russia, and China on June 9th. And what do you think was discussed during this meeting? Were there anything new discussed that we should be aware of?
Well, what is new about this meeting was, about this three countries corridor through Mongolia. We have been discussing it for the last at least 5 years. Yeah. Nothing is moved, not a single brick is made. But this time, Mr. President, our president said that, President Putin said he will support. What he will support is the idea that was discussed when the Irkutsk governor visited Mongolia. And recently also we talked about the Russia-Mongolia initiative. Also later on we have this Russia-Mongolia initiative 2018. By his initiative by the president's initiative of Batulog initiative, we started this and we had welcomed here cabinet members of the Russian new cabinet, several officials, and a lot of businesses. So first time, quite large range events happened last week. And there is a new formula now in between, along with this three countries corridor. Hopefully it will go somehow ahead. But there is a new formula in between Russia and China, Mongolia now, 5+1. That means that our president this idea was supported by President Putin. The idea is to have a corridor, to have a Trans-Mongolia line of natural gas, which is reopened again now. This discussion is reopened again. Natural gas, electricity, high-speed railways, outer corridor, outer road, highway, and also fiber optics. These 5 channels, the lines will be through Mongolia plus 1, that is Ulaanbaatar Metro. That is the proposal now on the table in between two countries, and which eventually will be connected with China. So hopefully this is something that new. We hope we have now more, a little bit more optimism than before. But still, remember, it's still talk. And now it means we will now. It should start new feasibility study of this all things 5+1, and also with with Russia, Mongolia is going to create a research center on nuclear energy, which it was explained that it will be the basis, fundamental basis of future medicine, nuclear energy, etc., etc. So we have more hope than before.
That's good. And also in this past couple of weeks, the 2017 national study on gender-based violence in Mongolia was published. This study breaks down the intimate partner and non-partner violence, revealing violence for both lifetime and within the last 12 months by looking at data pertaining to different forms of violences such as physical, sexual, economic, emotional, and controlling behaviors. So it was found that a lot of like the level of violence was very high in Mongolia. The statistics all said so. Why do you think this is so?
Well, let's say, first time we have some reliable report about violences, about sexual harassments, about violences that Mongolian women met in their life. And it's very reliable. It was made among 7,300 women interviewed, and it was made by the UN Population Fund and also National Statistics Committee of Mongolia. It turned out almost 57.9% of women had physical or sexual or emotional, as you said, or economic violence. And also there were certain also differences between IMAX regions of the Mongolia. But again, 1 in 10 women said they got sexual violence before they got 15 years old. Another thing, every woman in 4 said that it is okay if husband is beating, if a woman was unfaithful to a husband. Very strange statistics. It's okay to be beaten. Another thing, of all women who got that violence, only 1% reported to police. And 25% have never informed anybody. So how secret, how it should be taboo to talk about this violence in a home. Another thing which very much descriptive, I would say, was written about Mongolia in the Guardian, the Guardian newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, and it says, according to Mongolia's first nationwide survey on gender-based violence, released on last Thursday, by these organizations above mentioned, 31% of women say they have been subjected to sexual or physical violence by their partner. 1 in 7 women say they have been subjected to sexual violence by someone who was not their partner. This figure twice as high as estimated world average and higher than almost any country in Asia. This is very alarming statistics. 1 in 7 women was violated, was sexually had sexually violence by someone who is not their partner. Another thing, in Mongolia there is a huge variation in proportions of women experiencing non-partner sexual violence throughout the country. It is everywhere, and sexual abuse against a woman is quite alarming compared to the rest of the world. Is according to Henrietta Jansen of UNFPA, Population Fund, right? That's what he said. And recently also 2 parliament members even got involved in sexual raping women. And one of them is finally, after a year, himself submitted his request to be free, to get free from, or to release him from parliament membership. Parliament membership, yes. The other one, this guy is from People's Party. The other guy is from Democratic Party. Another interesting fact revealed from this study is there is a one-stop service center in Mongolia for women who need shelter with their children for up to 72 hours. Okay? And they seek medical help, the therapy, and legal advices. A woman there, a social worker working there, said this center was created in 2008, first year. That year they have hosted 300 women. But last year, after 10 years almost, they hosted 960 women. And another interesting fact, bad fact I would say, on payday and public holidays, more women come to the hospital with injuries. Looks like they got either paid or have holidays to be good reason for a woman. Huh? On 18th of March, this is Soldiers' Day in Mongolia, 15 women came to this center. What all this talk about is very serious phenomena in this country where across all age population in Mongolia to draw very serious attention.
And you just mentioned that 1 in 4 women agreed that their husband should have the right to beat them if they were unfaithful. What do you think is driving this kind of mentality or like this thought process among women?
It still shows how they value as a human being themselves. Nobody should be beaten under any circumstance. It should be discussed, talked, right? And yet the people are accepting that they could be beaten, they should be beaten if unfaithful. And I think this is, along with other statistics I just now have mentioned, show that we have very serious issue with the relations, sexual relations to women, violence to women. So it means we have a lot to do domestically, inside of each family, in education system. So one of the explanations was, for example, this education gap between genders, male and female, during 90s up all the way to 2000, or a little bit more, during which parents would send their boys to survive, to have a backpack trading with China and all around it. They used to send girls to schools, universities. In fact, these years we had 70 or 75% of students enrolled in universities were female. So that statistical things become a little bit less now, differences. But however, some explain that that's one of the reasons why we have this violence. Education level gap. And that's one of the reasons also why we have more single mother families. The second one is we need to work with the children from very childhood, when they are very young. Mongolia should restore, we had a couple of years, that sexual education curriculum in schools. And like many developed countries, the students become, the boys and girls become 10 years old, they are taught about sex relations, which makes their life more healthier, and which we must do it. The last one in this regard want to mention is that the very culture of intolerance towards violences is to be set deeply, must be set deeply in every Mongolian. And this is a quite different, very hard work, which now we got the true picture, what is the situation in the country. Now we have to work by all means. Maybe it is a matter of art, film, books, everywhere, so that we have more respect to women, deep respect.
And moving on to our third topic of the night, of the representatives elected in 2016, 22 have passed away, 1 was tied to illegal acts, and 6 have transferred. And this has caused the local re-elections to occur in June 24th, or about to occur in June 24th. And however, the media coverage of this re-election seems to be very low. Why do you think this is so?
Mongolia is, it's called re-election. One is called re-election. The other is replacing, right? We have 4 years election term, election circle. It's happening in the second year because just after general election we have presidential elections. That's why, in order not to have every year election, we do it after second year, after general elections. You know, many politicians at all levels, they become the local rural level parliament, or rural level members, and now, for example, 22 of them passed away, for example. There are several thousands of them. Out of them, the 22,000 passed away. So we will have 11 IMACs, 29 SOMs, 43 parts units. We will have a re-election, for example. You said, why the people seems not very much interested in that local elections? No, because it is unlike general elections. It is midterm, and plus it does not change the status quo of 2 political parties dominating Mongolian politics. People's Party, Democratic Party, right? At every level there is certain status quo existing, and changing 1 or 2 doesn't mean there will be substantial change that change the policy of this local area or the general trend. So that's why it is not much interested. And it is not good too, because, you know, Ulaanbaatar probably only city in the world, capital city, where the mayor is not elected from the people directly. First of all, they elect these Hural members, and from the Hural members, from 45%, they elect 1 person as a mayor of the city, which is to be approved by the prime minister. So basically, our mayor of Ulaanbaatar city is to report to the prime minister and to the representatives, which is not the best case, because our city problems, which is aggravating, increasing every day, has nothing to do with the political 2 parties, for example. So we want to see more direct elections at this level of city, IMAC. So probably then the public governance quality will be changed accordingly, and accordingly also the people's living standard will be increased.
And in the previous topic, you mentioned that a parliament member, De Gantotlag, recently submitted his letter of resignation due to cases of sexual assault. So him leaving the office, his chair seat, would mean there needs to be a replacement election to occur in Hengti Amig. What do you make of this?
Yeah, it will be. Because he is one of the 76, but his replacement will not substantially change the power balance in the parliament, because this is 70 out of 76, there's 65 is People's Party. 10 in whoever comes here does not change. But there will be small changes important within People's Party. Why? According to a journalist, Orang Tohtoh, who wrote on his Facebook to me more interesting, reliable analysis, he said, it is a matter mostly has to do with the current Prime Minister Huruz Suh. Huruz Suh is the only candidate that can bring victory for People's Party. Even he brings victory, he becoming a parliament member and prime minister. That could be one reason to discuss about the status of this current cabinet. If he does not bring victory, he will be fired anyway from his prime ministership positions. His cabinet, I think, will be resolved. Plus, the problem with People's Party, also in the Democratic Party, inside is they don't have correct, the normal, true leaders. Why I'm saying so confidently? Because two political parties, Democratic Party, People's Party, who are mostly are sitting in the parliament, the heads of these parties never report true situation of their financing. So it's like, I create a lot of money, I don't report to anybody. Then I try to be the honest guy and run all this, the political parties, and through parliament I try to run whole country. Who would believe in the person who is keeping secret all his financing, a redistribution of that financing through distributing public positions, giving a chance to political, donating companies, individuals to win public tender. So this is the whole mess of Mongolian governance. And until we solve this problem of political party financing, which creates corruption in the society, Mongolia will be never having stable government. And why this, even first time in history, People's Party, owning a majority in the parliament, replaced the cabinet. What does it mean? It's very deeply divided, this political party. Based on mostly, probably the money they have been contributed to political parties. And because this whole thing is secret, because they don't have internal democracy, the parliament members, they are afraid of talking and asking about own political party financing from the head of their party. If they don't discuss the elephant in the room, how they have a moral right to teach us what to do and how to do. So I find these two political parties kind of mafia that took over Mongolian governance through our election. So until this is solved, I think this sort of problems will continue. Nobody will stop. And unfortunately, as a result, we will have instability, as the President said, of the government. And because we are so fractioned, probably there are more interests to play with these different parts of the power. I don't exclude it can be from anyone, this sort of impact.
Well, thank you for joining us for this week's Defacto Review. Please join us for next week at the same time for the weekly roundup of the biggest stories shaping Mongolia.
Thank you very much for being with us and our today's review, and also my article, weekly article, also some contribution of other analytics in the country are made into the Defacto Gazeta weekly analytical newspaper, which you can subscribe on our website, jargaldefacto.com, in 3 languages, Mongolian, English, Japanese. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Good night.
Goodbye.